What is up, guys? Logan here from Geeks of the West. As you all know, this has been news for quite a while now. The Last of Us movie has been announced. And this is, like I said, older news, of course. But I wanted to touch upon it a little bit. I wanted to talk about it because I'm excited for this movie. But at the same time, I'm a little nervous. I'm afraid. Listen, we have The Last of Us, which has great potential. There's a great story behind it. There's a great setting. It's a great premise to make a movie from. But, of course, as with any video game movie, there is basically chance for absolute disaster. Just to list off a couple video game movies that have gone south, we're going to go with Resident Evil, House of the Dead, Doom, Tomb Raider, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, so on and so forth. I'll be honest, I enjoyed the first Resident Evil movie and I enjoyed Doom. The first Resident Evil movie had tons of potential, and I liked the fact that it wasn't different because look, the video game, I got that story arc already, so I wanted something different. However, George A. Romero would have been a better person for the movie, and as far as Doom goes, I enjoyed it more than the Resident Evil movie. I liked that it was different, but it just wasn't. It was just another zombie movie. You see, while Doom 3 was a great game and it had zombies in it, and I guess you could categorize it as a zombie game. It wasn't just a zombie game. It wasn't a zombie game that you play for the zombies. It was a game that was so different that it had more to offer than just zombies. It wasn't a premise based on zombies. And the Doom movie might as well have just been another zombie film. Another zombie film, just like the Resident Evil movie, which had monsters in it. That's it. But like I said, both those movies were enjoyable. However, they didn't live up to the hype that their video game counterparts did. So, I want to talk about The Last of Us movie, why video game movies failed, and what I expect or hope to see from this movie so it doesn't fail like the rest. Let's get started, shall we? One problem that video game movies seem to have is they have a problem with hiring terrible people to write the story for the movie. Like Resident Evil chose Paul W. Anderson or Paul S.W. Anderson, whatever his name is. Now listen, I am sure he has great potential. I'm sure he could make a few great movies. I mean, I enjoyed Soldier, even though it didn't really have great character development. Pandorum was a great movie, in my opinion. However, why would you bring in a director that only has Shopping, Mortal Kombat, Event Horizon, Soldier, and The Sight underneath his belt to make a movie that you expect to sell a lot of copies and to honor this video game that everybody loves? I think Paul W.S. Anderson, I believe his name is, I believe that he could have been a much better director if he had had more experience underneath his belt before, taking on big projects. Does he have potential? I believe he does, but I think he has too many cliches. So, I mean, he has potential, but he's not the right man for the Resident Evil series. But it has been revealed that the writer of The Last of Us screenplay will be Neil Druckmann, who was the co-writer of Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, co-writer of Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, and he wrote the story for the game, The Last of Us. So I think it is appropriate that he is behind The Last of Us because part of it came from his mind, the story came from his mind, so I think it's proper for that to happen. And The Last of Us will be produced by Sam Raimi, who produced Time Cop The Judge, 30 Days of Night, Priest, Evil Dead, and Poltergeist. So, I think we have potential, and I think it's a safe bet that this movie will be a decent movie. Another reason why it seems to be that movies based off video games do terrible is because they try to sell you with cliches. Like Resident Evil did every action cliche there was, slow motion, impossible, a character that's basically impossible to kill. Like, I mean times 50, not like Resident Evil game impossible to kill, like Leon style. I mean like fucking impossible. Like, this bitch is fucking superhuman, fucking walking up walls and shit, and like her like mind control. Like, seriously? Not to mention they used a really sexy girl, a model, naked to sell the movie, and then they used the name Resident Evil itself to sell the movie. And with Doom the movie, they used The Rock. They used the cliche that every action movie uses, where there's not really any character development. You don't really give two shits about the character. I mean, there is some character development in Doom, I will admit. The main character, the one that becomes a superhuman and saves his sister, I did somewhat feel sympathetic for him. And I felt sympathetic for The Rock, to be honest. I wanted him to win just because he's a badass. But yeah, like, lack of character development. I just hope they don't sell it on cliches. That's my hope, my one wish. So they don't sell it on cliches, and I hope they don't change. They change the story way too much in most video game movies. Like the Resident Evil series. Oh my god, the Resident Evil movies have nothing to do with the games almost. Like, why call it Resident Evil? Doom the movie. I mean, I was okay with the changes that they made. The fact that it wasn't totally the same thing. I'm glad they innovated with it, but however, it would have been cool to see the demons and the forces of hell as opposed to some Martian virus. I would have enjoyed that much better. I was okay with the characters, not having anything to do with the game other than the doctors being named after the creators of ID Software or id Software. But to be honest with you, I think The Last of Us would be okay with completely different characters. Because listen, The Last of Us video game, like, I hope The Last of Us 2 video game, I hope it doesn't revolve around the two characters from The Last of Us, the first game, because look, that story arc completely satisfying. It had a great ending. I think it can be left alone before they slaughter it. I think it's a perfect ending, perfect story arc. I like the way it ended, so that's why I hope The Last of Us 2 has different characters. I hope the movies are different characters, because look, the game, that story is fine the way it is. I understand, that you want to share this awesome story with a new audience that doesn't play video games. The audience that doesn't have enough time to play video games or can't play video games or just not interested in video games. I understand that you'd want to tell them the awesome story, but listen, that story is fine the way it is. It's not going to be the same if you have different, or if you have the same characters. It's just not going to be the same. Oh no, I think that story arc's fine. I hope they leave it alone. And also, I don't want to see the same thing over again, because then it won't be predictable. And if it's the same story arc and then they change it, it's just going to ruin it for me. Anyway, that's my take on The Last of Us movie. I see so much potential. It's, in my opinion, it's in the right hands as far as a producer and a director goes, or a writer. Don't know who the director is yet. But like I said, as far as writing and the producers go, I think it's in the right hands. I hope the writer co-directs it. I hope he doesn't direct the entire thing. I hope they get somebody with more experience as a director in there. I hope him learn the ropes, because then this guy creates some pretty good movies as well as write some pretty good stories. Anyway, that is my take on it. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. Have a good one.